And welcome back to WZBN News. This is Mercer County Close-Up. Recently, we heard from our recent tax expert, Mr. Gregg Semanick. Of course, there are many ways to file your taxes, many free services now available through Walmart and through a whole bunch of other sources. There are also the options when it comes time for filing. Remember, if you're doing it through the mail, you need to have it postmarked by April 17th. You want to get it filed online before then as well. But should you do it on your own, or should you have a paid preparer do it for you? Here to dissect that whole process, we welcome back Gregg Semanick to the show. Greg, thanks again for being our guest.
My pleasure.
Well, I mean, if you're a single individual on your own and you've just got your own taxes to worry about, that's one thing. It's probably not as hard as it sounds. If you've got a whole family, there's more people to account for, you might be better off getting a paid tax preparer. But what does it really all boil down to? Is it more advantageous for people to just do it themselves?
Well, generally, it's a personal choice. However, during these difficult economic times, people are trying to save a dollar.
Sure.
What I would suggest is get last year's tax return. Gather your records. If everything's going to be similar to the prior year, you might want to give electronic filing a try. It's fast, it's easy, it's safe and secure. Electronic filing will walk you through the process. It'll actually interview you in doing your own tax return online. So it's like having a tax preparer with you right there in doing the process. Now, again, as you mentioned, simple versus complex. The key thing is if there's a lifestyle change from a previous year, then again, you may want to consider choosing a paid tax professional. But generally, take your records, take last year's tax returns, and walk through the process. Select one of the various electronic filing programs, and there's approximately 20 available through the IRS.gov website. And again, many of them are for free, so you want to choose one that's free for you. For example, the Free File program through the IRS.gov website is available for all taxpayers with total income of $57,000 or less. However, there are several that do offer free filing beyond that criteria. What I would suggest doing, go to the vendor software companies listed through the IRS.gov website and access the value added section. You'll see that on their homepage. The value added section will show what the cost would be if you exceed the $57,000 free filing criteria. For example, Free Tax USA offers free filing for all taxpayers, including those that use itemized deductions.
Great.
So again, you want to consider those services, and I would suggest giving it a shot. Basically, if you're not satisfied or not comfortable, you're not committed to follow through until you submit that return to the IRS. So again, if you're not satisfied and again not comfortable, what you can do then is decide to choose a paid tax professional. But I would encourage people to try it on their own first to see if it works out for them.
Now, listen, folks, the IRS is not your enemy. They are there to help you. If you go to irs.gov, you'll find a whole host of the services Greg has mentioned. And of course, even if, just personally speaking, I last year made a mistake. I forgot about a $400 return I was owed. My check coming back was $400 more. The IRS is there to help you. If it's a mistake in your favor that will get you some extra money, they'll help you with that too. Now, I know that going to a tax preparer means bringing all the documentation, bringing all the numbers, so that they can crunch them. It does, most of them that are paid preparers, obviously they charge up front for doing your taxes for you. Now, if you're owed a refund, but you have to pay this tax preparer, is it really worth it in the long run to go and have a preparer do it for you?
I think that's what we were discussing earlier about using the free filing services or the e-filing services. That's a personal decision you need to make to see where you stand. If your return is simple and there's not a lifestyle change from the previous year, we encourage you to give it a shot. I would encourage you to do that. The key thing is to keep in mind you have to be comfortable in the final outcome in that preparation process. Now, if you're going to choose a paid tax professional, choose a tax preparer wisely, the same way you would choose a doctor or a lawyer. As you mentioned, you want to check on their qualifications. You want to make sure, are they a CPA? Are they registered with the IRS? That is, are they an enrolled agent? Or are they a tax attorney? And very important this year, you want to ask them for their preparer tax identification number. We refer that to as the PTIN, P-T-I-N. If the preparer does not know what that means, that is a concern. Because they should be registered with the IRS with what we call the PTIN. So that's very important. Now, also keep in mind, as you mentioned, you want to find out the fees up front. You're the customer. You're seeking their services. Don't be afraid to ask, what will you be charging me? And what is included in that fee? Will you be representing me with the IRS if I do receive what we call a pen pal letter?
Yeah, exactly. Now, of course, you see them outside Liberty Tax Service places. The Statue of Liberty characters almost beckoning you to come in and, try their services. H&R Block, all the folks out there that try and get you to come and visit their tax preparers to, for the help, obviously. But you also want to make sure that the preparer, should questions come back from the IRS, will that preparer be available after the April 17th deadline? I mean, obviously, you want to make sure that's in place, should that be a necessity, really.
Very important question. When you're asking about their services, you want to ask that question, will you be around after April 17th if I need to contact you, their preparer, or the organization? Now, also keep in mind, as you get closer to the deadline date, which is April 17th this year, a preparer may say, sign a blank paper return, I'll fill in the numbers later. Never do that.
Okay.
It's better to file for an extension because it's important for you, the taxpayer, to review the tax return. You may not be a tax expert, but you should understand what's on the return. For example, if you're a wage earner and you have W-2 information from the employer, look at those numbers, make sure that they are in order. If you had itemized deductions, for example, charitable contributions, is that number in line with what you have for your records? In other words, see if your records are in line to what the preparer shows on the return. Some of them can make an honest mistake. So we encourage you to review that information. Keep in mind, you, the taxpayer, are ultimately responsible for all the information on that tax return.
Right. And you mentioned W-2s. That's actually one thing I wanted to wrap up with. We're here in mid-January. Some people may have gotten theirs, maybe not. I think it's January 31st they have to be mailed out by, so you should be getting those forms that you need for the taxes no later than early February.
Correct. W-2s from your employers should be received, I would say, by mid-February. Okay. Also, Form 1099s regarding interest or dividend income from financial institutions, or 1099s regarding retirement or pension income. You should have those by mid-February. If not, follow up with the source. Now, keep in mind, many of those organizations may provide that information online so you can access it. And also make sure if they're going to mail it to you that they have your correct mailing address.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we thank you once again for being our guest, and we hope that you folks have been taking notes, because filing taxes and getting your checks back, it's easier than it ever was before because of the Internet and because of a lot of these free services. And Greg, thanks again for being our guest. Gregg Semanick, a longtime veteran of the IRS, now on his own, offering a lot of free tax advice. If you weren't with us last time, follow him on Twitter, Semanick, G-S-E-M-A-N-I-C-K. That's at Twitter. He'll give you a daily tax tip if you follow him there. I'm Mark Fontes. We'll see you again real soon.